we have really a super special guest with us. Janice Dean, she's a meteorologist at Fox. But let me tell you what makes her special. She's a fighter. Uh, she is someone who's not afraid to stand up, regardless of who she has to confront. And she has a very powerful message and something that should resonate with every single American. And, you know, I'm going to let Janet tell the story of her family, her in-laws, and what happened in King Cuomo's New York back in March, and how it has affected Janice's family. And it is something that she will never forget. Her family will never forget, because something happened that should not have happened if there would have been proper leadership in New York. So Janice, it's great to have you, and it's, you know, just great watching you, you know, stand up and fight against, I call him King Cuomo because he thinks he's running the world. You know, whatever he says, you know, it is the king speaking. But your family was affected by the policies of this governor in a very serious way. Let's go back to the beginning of Corona, or, you know, back in March, when all of us, you know, it was an unbelievable situation here in New York, worse than anywhere in the United States, in fact. Tell us what happened at that particular time in terms of your husband's, you know, his parents, mother, father. What exactly happened at that particular time in terms of Corona and how it affected your family?
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you also for being a fighter, Dov, because sometimes it feels like we're alone in this fight. So it's nice to have someone, you know, in the ring with me. So my husband's parents were in elder care facilities, separate elder care facilities. The plan was we were going to have them together in an assisted living residence that was very close to our home on Long Island. And, you know, just a side note to all of those that go through this decision-making process of what to do with our ailing parents. Sean's parents lived in Brooklyn for all of their lives. They lived in a 4-story walk-up for over 50 years. They never wanted to move. It was rent controlled. We tried many times to get them into a different residence, you know, thinking ahead to when they got sick or couldn't take care of themselves, which is what we found ourselves in over the last year. His dad had dementia. He had to be, you know, taken care of very regularly. His mom was not able to walk. She had to have a walker. They weren't able to get up and down the stairs. So, you know, we had issues taking care of them. And we had aides going in to see them. There were still many trips to the ER. My husband would have to go from work to go see them, to bring them to the hospital or see them at the hospital. So, you know, the backstory here is my heart goes out to all of those people that have to make these hard decisions to put their family members into care facilities. But the big plan was to have them at this wonderful assisted living place that was close to us so we could go visit them. They could be together in a double room. His dad was in a nursing home because he was ill and he had dementia and he had to have rehab beforehand. So we had to get him in better shape. And unfortunately, coronavirus came into play in March when they were both in their separate elder care facilities. His dad got sick very quickly, but I will tell you, we had no idea he was ill until a Saturday morning when we were quarantined. We weren't able to see them at all. This was mid-March. We were getting phone calls from their care facilities every day to tell us updates. And Sean was certainly talking to his dad as much as he could, talking to his mom every single day, several times a day. And we got a call on a Saturday morning saying his dad wasn't feeling well. And we didn't know he was even sick. And 3 hours later, we got a call saying he was dead. And this was late March. This was, you know, I believe March 28th, 29th. And we didn't know until we saw the death certificate that he died of COVID. And I didn't know about the March 25th mandate until after he had died. And I remember getting a phone call before he died, about a week before he died, or several days before he died, saying that his dad was going to be moved to a different floor in his facility, in his nursing home, so that they could accept patients, new patients. So when I started to hear about the governor's executive order, that was the first red flag after he had died, and we had seen the death certificate. His mom, my husband had to tell his mom that his dad had died. She hadn't seen him. We hadn't seen her. Hardest thing he's ever had to do. And she got sick in her assisted living residence, was transported to the hospital. They diagnosed her with COVID, and she died in the hospital 2 weeks later. And because she died in the hospital, her number does not count, because Governor Cuomo does not count the seniors that died in the hospital but got COVID in their elder care facilities.
Yeah, Janice, it's really beyond comprehension. You know, I have said many, many times, you don't have to be a doctor, you don't have to be an expert to know that the idea of sending COVID patients to nursing homes, I mean, that is as preposterous, as ridiculous as anything ever in this world. I mean, everyone knew at that time that elderly people were, in particular, you know, the ones that we needed to protect the most. They were most vulnerable. So, you know, how smart did you have to be to know that you don't do that? You don't send corona patients to senior citizens to be at the same location. And what the governor did, you know, the man who puts out a book now during corona, puts out a book about leadership, talking about himself. You know, I'm the great leader. I did it better than anyone else. That's really what this book is all about, and blaming everyone else for all the problems and all the difficulties. I mean, just the idea of what this governor did, forcing the nursing home people. I spoke to many owners of nursing homes. They got it. They understood that this was insane, that it made no sense, but they had no choice. I mean, one thing about this governor, people are scared of him. You know, he's intimidating. You know, people are afraid to start up with him. He says, you're taking corona patients. You are taking corona patients. So it's beyond comprehension. How does anyone explain? Has anyone ever given you, I mean, the governor has never said anything like, I made a mistake. You know, I made a mistake. We didn't know better. Even though, how could you make such a mistake? But in talking to different people, do you have any more of a clue than I have how anyone could do this? Anyone. Just like, you don't do this, period.
Right, and we didn't know about it either. I found out until it was too late. And of course, we would have wanted to know that he was putting COVID patients into nursing homes. But you know, we were also locked down. We weren't able to see them. We weren't able to have funerals or wakes, or you know, we were able to bury them, thank the good Lord. But I've talked to families who weren't able to bury their loved ones, and not able to have these services that we need to help grieve. In answer to your question, the reason why I'm so vocal is because when I saw the governor going on TV shows and radio programs and not being asked the question of why he put COVID patients into nursing homes for 46 days, and why he didn't use the facilities that the government provided, the Comfort Ship, the Javits Center, there were other makeshift hospitals. Why were those not used? I've asked these questions and still don't get answers. And of course, the numbers are probably at least double. The governor goes on these programs as early as yesterday, as recent as yesterday. And someone said, you know, well, do we have the total number of deaths from the seniors that got COVID in their elder care facilities, also dying in the hospital? And you know, he said, oh, we're number 46 on the list of 50 states in terms of nursing homes, because he's not using the proper numbers. So, you know, there's the cover up with the numbers. But I will tell you the thing that I read a few months ago that that was a red flag. It was a piece in the Wall Street Journal saying that the governor wasn't listening to science. He was listening to his hospital and lobbyists. It was the hospitals apparently that were whispering in his ear saying, we can't take these patients. We can't provide or care for them like maybe a nursing home can care for them. So if that's the case, we should know that. And the only way we're going to know that is if we have a proper investigation and not one conducted by the governor himself.
And also, there's another very important factor. You know, it's a shame that reporters at the Washington Post and the New York Times and other liberal publications all over this country, it's a shame that no one wants to win a Pulitzer Prize. Because if they were to look into this, if they were to pursue this as they pursue other things that they care about, especially if it involves President Trump and his White House, just imagine if reporters were as dedicated and devoted to looking into this. What happened to your in-laws, to your husband's parents? There are thousands of people just like yourself. I mean, I know people, friends of our family, who were dying in nursing homes. We couldn't, at one point, we didn't understand what was going on. We just didn't understand. I mean, people that were pretty okay weeks before suddenly were dead. And now we know who's responsible. And it's just a shocking thing that the media, with the exception of Fox basically, and some of the media more on the right, that no one else is really willing to pursue this and get to all we're asking for are the facts. Okay, let's take a step back. King Cuomo, we're not blaming you. Let's have a real independent investigation, not an investigation by the State Department of Health, okay? Not an investigation by any of your cronies. Just people that all of us could say, those are people we trust. Let's get to the bottom of it. Now, you know, Janice, the last thing this governor wants, and he will do everything in the world to fight this, he doesn't want the truth to come out, because you and I know already what that truth is. You know, he wants to be president of the United States.
Well, you know what? If he wasn't guilty of something, Dov, don't you think he would welcome any and all investigations? You know, that's what I have a problem with. And when he is finally asked the question about the nursing homes, he blames everyone else except the man that signed the mandate, Governor Cuomo. His name is on the mandate. And by the way, if you go to their website, the health department website, you can't find that March 25th order. It's not there anymore. So you're right. Why don't we have journalists on this? You know, I've heard there's a money trail, you know, that if the patients were sent to the comfort ship or the Javits Center, there would be no money exchanged. So these are all things that I hear about, but yet no one will ask him, or if they do ask him the question, they never follow up. You know, like, bring the order with you. Why did you sign this, Governor? Why is it not on your website? Why did it take 46 days for you to reverse it? Why aren't you giving us the numbers? I mean, there is the Empire Center, Bill Hammond, who is an excellent reporter. They are a watchdog of sorts, and they are suing the governor for the information on the total number of deaths, including those that died in the hospital. And they keep moving the goalposts. It was supposed to come before the election and then after the election and now January. So I don't know if we're ever going to get these numbers, Dov. It is beyond frustrating to me. And of course, you mentioned the book and the Emmy, and now he's up for Time Person of the Year. So I feel like I'm in an alternate universe. Like, why is this happening to our families? Right, and you're right. If he was a Republican, he would be in front of a jury.
Absolutely. You know, Bill Hammond, let me point out, is not some guy on the political right. If anything, he's more on the left, and he's been pursuing this. And I know the Justice Department was looking into it. The question is, where will it go with a Biden administration? It's really beyond comprehension. Let me ask you about your in-laws. You know, I was looking at pictures of you next to them and trying to get a sense of, you know, what they were like. Tell us a little bit about them as individuals, your relationship with them, what that was like.
They were true New Yorkers. Governor Cuomo likes to talk about New York tough, how he's New York tough, wear your mask. They were New York tough. His dad was in the Air Force. He was stationed in Hawaii. Him and his beloved bride used to be pen pals. And if memory serves me correctly, I think he actually proposed via his notes to her, his letters to her when they were courting each other. He was also in the fire department for 23 years in Brooklyn. My husband's a firefighter. He became a firefighter because his dad was one. His mom was a homemaker, but, loved her grandchildren. Every birthday, every celebration, there would always be a card or a present from her. The last time my husband talked to her, she asked him to buy presents for Easter and put the kids' names on them. Wow. So that's the type of person that she is. She, devoted mom, devoted grandmother. They were married for almost 60 years, Dov. Next year would have been their 60th anniversary.
And, for the children, what is it like for them? They're watching, your family is watching you out there, speaking out, standing up, not being afraid. A lot of people, they just go on with life. It was a tragedy. That's the point. It didn't have to happen. They could have lived longer. That's the point. Someone's policy, someone's so-called leadership resulted in thousands and thousands of people. We're not talking about a couple of people here. It could be as high as 10,000 people who died as a result of corona patients being sent to nursing homes. And some of the patients in the nursing homes ending up in the hospital. That number could be 10,000, 12,000. Why wouldn't the world be interested in getting to the bottom of this? That's all we're asking. Let's just find out all the facts. And whatever those facts are, if I'm wrong, if you're wrong, Janice, we'll apologize to the governor. I'll get on my knees to the king and I'll say, I'm sorry, you were right, I was wrong. I'll do it. I'll stand outside, in Albany, New York, outside the Capitol and beg for forgiveness. But let's get to the bottom of it, period.
Right. My husband didn't want me at first to speak out because he's a very private person. And this is so very personal. But then when we saw these interviews where the governor was never asked the question, never asked the nursing home questions, instead it was about his love life and doing his comedy routine with his brother on CNN, when people are dying and we're suffering. And he finally relented because who's going to speak up? If he's not being asked the questions, then who is going to represent all of these families that are grieving? And by the way, the governor likes to say this is political because I work at Fox News. I'm the meteorologist. I've never been political in my entire life. My parents, Sean's parents, my husband's parents were registered Democrats. This is not politics. When I go out and meet these families, it doesn't matter. We don't talk about who they voted for. Most of these families are probably Democrats. So why isn't this a bipartisan fight? Why is it just you and me and a few others? Why is that?
Right. Janice, he will say, look, I know the governor. I served in the legislature for 36 years. I was elected the year his father became governor, and I knew him all of those 36 years. This is not a nice guy. This is not a guy that you can trust. This is a person who's very vindictive. And I agree. He will say whatever is necessary to confuse the public, to get away from the actual facts of this. This is one of the worst tragedies in the history of New York. If you think about it, nothing like this has ever happened before. One person, right? He is the leader. He's the king. He's the governor. He made that decision. He forced the nursing homes to take people in who never should have been anywhere close to a nursing home, for God's sake. So I just want to tell you, Janice. Yes, please.
No, and people who work in the nursing home industry, and they're afraid to speak. They are afraid. So if we can't get somebody to subpoena the governor and his health commissioner and people in the nursing home industry that can speak without fear, until that happens, we're not going to get answers. And that's what I am so frustrated about. And yes, I know he's a bully. I have experienced it from his staff and his people that he is surrounded with. I've had people actually say, watch your back. I mean, my goodness, I'm a 50-year-old woman that was born in Canada that does the weather, and I have to watch my back because I am speaking out on behalf of thousands of families that want answers.
Well, Janice, God bless you. I love people who fight for what they believe in, regardless of the odds. And I just want to tell you that I personally will not stop. You know, it may take a year, 2 years, but the governor's not going away, and this is a legitimate issue to confront him with as he thinks he's going up the ladder, and he will need to deal with it. So, you know, thank God, you know, for people like yourself, you know, leading the charge, and we'll do whatever we can. We have the book, the ultimate book, King Covidius Cuomo, lessons of leadership. Blame someone else, blame the Jews, just blame someone else. That's the key thing. And of course, it's filled with all kinds of great information that everyone should be reading. And I've told people, I've read it 2 or 3 times already. But Janice, God bless you. I love you. And I'm telling you, I promise you, we will win on behalf of the people of the state of New York and the people of this country. King Cuomo is not going to get away with this. I promise. And thank you, Janice.
Aw. Thank you,
fabulous.
Joe. Thank you so much. I love
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
Take care, Janice. All the best.
All right, my friend.